Hello, everybody. Welcome to the TriStar Gym channel. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the TriStar Gym channel. Today's episode, we're going to be doing another AMA. I'm going to be answering all your crazy questions. As usual, let's kick it off with training questions, fight questions, upcoming fight questions. I'm really looking forward to the Merab O'Malley fight. This weekend, we have Gilbert Burns. Some exciting fights coming up. We could talk about that as well, but let's kick it off with some fighting, training, fitness questions, and then after that we can kick it off with absolutely anything. Okay, so here we go, guys. The chat rooms are ready. Kicking off, Rainbow says, stop squatting on the ball, you're gonna ruin your kneecaps. Quite the contrary. Sports Science Lab, they do it. Michael Kogan does it. I do it. I've been doing it for 20 years. My knees are bulletproof. If you like to test my knees, please come down to the TriStar Gym channel. Me and you will have a rumble. We'll have a tussle, and we'll see whose knees give out first. Okay, guys, what else we got here? Sam Coach, thanks for the great advice about meniscus. My pleasure. Very happy to help whenever I can. Make sure to check out Strong and Stable Knees for Life. Get the video. Be enlightened. Make sure to use promo code. It's at the bottom of your screen. It's in the description. Level up 50 off. Make sure to punch in the code. It's at the bottom of the screen. Go to jujiclub.com. Get 50% off anything with that promo code. Absolutely anything. I also just released Inside Heel Hook. Okay, Cross Ashi made simple. It came out super well. It's jam-packed with information. If you're interested in leg locks, it's the best video out there. Check it out. Okay. All right. Happy to be here on time. Here we go. How do back escapes differ in gi and in no gi? That's from John Doe. You know what? The fundamental moves are the same. However, in gi, it's far more dangerous to give up your back, okay? It's far more dangerous because you can use the lapel to choke you in so many different ways, particularly the bow and arrow choke. There's a choke from the back you can do with the gi that obviously you cannot do it without the gi because you need the lapel, you need the pants, you need to get almost like an armbar position. The bow and arrow choke is a very, very powerful choke. Now you'll see guys in gi get to the back and it's almost over almost all the time. It's much harder to escape. Now the escapes are similar, very similar. However, they're much harder to do because the guy on the back has so much more options. Okay, so it's just a lot harder to escape the choking. But the escapes themselves are very, very similar. What do you think about the inside capping for Gordon Ryan uses? Can you use them in MMA? That's from Vinan Gaming. I'm a big camper, okay? For those of you who don't know, capping just kind of means like when you're fighting somebody with a really good guard, you put him in a position where he's kind of carrying your weight, okay? Because he's the man on the bottom. He can use all sorts of great techniques to regard. However, when you find that it's hard to pass somebody's guard, we go into what we call a, quote, camping position. Camping means I'm going to stay here. I'm going to hold you here. I'm going to soften you up because you're spending more energy than I am. So if I camp out in these positions, you're going to start getting really tired. You're going to start carrying my weight. I'm going to soften you up and I'm going to pass your guard. I'm a big believer in this system. Okay, so I'm a big believer in doing loose passing and body lock passing. Now, from these two, I think you have camping positions. So when you're loose passing, meaning you're passing the guard standing up, or when you're body lock passing, usually on your knees. Okay, when we're on our knees, we call it like body lock passing or smash passing. I think the two have phenomenal camping positions. So you do both passes, but you do both passing system. You can pass on your knees. You can pass standing up on your feet. Both are ultra important. But both have camping positions. Now, I do it all the time in MMA sparring as well. It's a fantastic method of holding people down. But you're right. In MMA, I don't think it's caught on yet. Because I would say 99% of, no, maybe 80% of MMA guys pass the old school way. Okay, because the jiu-jitsu hasn't been upgraded so much in the MMA world. Why? Because there are things you could do that are more important, like just kind of punching, ground and pound. Those things are more important for MMA guys. So MMA fighters won't spend their time learning all these intricate type of camping positions because for them, why do that? I kind of hold the guy down and just kind of hit him. It's a lot more points, a lot more impressive for the judges. It's a lot more relevant to their sport. However, with that being said, I think people would have a harder time getting up to their feet if MMA fighters knew more of these camping positions. So in time, when MMA fighters find more time, or they start to understand the benefits of these type of grips, they can work in MMA. Absolutely. Guys, don't forget, I'm always doing super chats and non-super chats, but I will get to every super chat as best I can. Can we break down Sean Brady versus Gilbert Burns? How it will go down? That's from David Harris. I'm very familiar with Gilbert Burns. I've trained with Gilbert Burns back in the day, but I'm not very familiar with Sean Brady. I've watched his fight with Bilal Muhammad. That's, I think, the only fight I've seen from him. He's a very tough guy, very explosive guy. He was tagging Bilal, but Bilal's pressure was relentless and just kind of ended up breaking him and taking him out. Just from that fight alone, I didn't do a full analysis. I would go with Gilbert Burns. But again, guys, that's just watching one fight, and I'm doing it from memory. I didn't go through a thorough analysis, so take that with a grain of salt, okay? But Gilbert Burns is very experienced. He fought for world title fights. He's been around for a long time, so he's a true vet. It's going to be a very hard guy to beat. Coach, what are your thoughts on BJJ training dummies? Do you think they're worth the investment, or should I stick to drilling with a real person? ? That's from Adam Baird. Look, I'm not a big fan of the dummies, okay? I'll tell you why. I think they're cool a little bit. You can do some stuff on them, and if you're building a garage gym and you don't have a lot of partners, get one. It's worth it if you don't have a lot of partners. But it's always better to drill with a real person, because the dummy's trying to replace a partner, right? So if you can't get a partner, get a dummy. I mean, that's the next best thing you can get. I mean, that's just what your resources are. However, you cannot do a full practice, you can't do obviously as much with a real partner, okay? So it would be like you'd be getting 20% of what you can get with a real partner, okay? So obviously partners are the best. That's without question. You can drill all sorts of things. Obviously, you can drill jiu-jitsu fully with another human being. With a dummy, I'd say you can only do like 20%. Thank you, Zuhair. Jazakallahu khair, my brother, and to you as well. Coach, how to get better shoulders? My shoulders have been super weak and skinny all my life. That's from Just a Channel. Ouch. That's not a pretty thing. Get strong and stable shoulders for life. Check it out on jujiclub.com. What else we get here? Okay. Reread the question about back escapes. Okay, now I explained that thoroughly. I got to the fact that in MMA... Oh, wait. Was that an MMA reference? Hold on a second. Oh, you're right. I misread it. Goodness gracious. What's wrong with me? How do back escapes differ in no-gi and MMA? Okay, my bad. I did a comparison between gi and no-gi. I don't know why I did that. In MMA, look, the escapes are identical except one major factor. Okay, one major factor. I'll tell you something. When you escape the back in MMA, if you get mounted, it could be worse. So in jiu-jitsu, like you have somebody on your back, you start escaping. There's one side of the escapes that leads to you maybe getting mounted, maybe. Now, as you're escaping, you might slide your knee between you and your partner, and then he doesn't mount you. You have kind of a leg lock entry. Okay. Now in MMA, escaping to a particular side. If you escape that direction and the guy mounts you, you just made things worse. Because in MMA, the guy could obviously punch you. In jiu-jitsu, the guy scored on you, but you're already in a bad spot. You're probably for sure behind already because the guy has your back. In MMA, there's one side. If you go that way, you can get mounted, and mounted, you get knocked out. Because it's hard for me to knock you out if I have your back. Okay, in MMA, if I have your back. For me to hit you from your back, it's very hard. Like I can kind of give you little shots, but nothing significant. If you escape and you end up giving me the mount, now my shots can really hurt you. Like we're talking about, you can have your lights be put out from the mount position. Okay, so it's much more risky to do certain escapes that risk the mount. So personally, when I have my back taken, I always try to escape in a way that gets me to my knees, or I can spin around and get on top of the guy. I could face the guy. I do different escapes because I don't want to risk getting mounted. If you get mounted in MMA, it could be really, really bad. Okay, so when you're, I should do a video about that, like the difference between escaping from no gi, and escaping in MMA, and highlight exactly what these dangers are. How to lose hard fat. Look, check out, I have a book written on fasting for fitness. Okay, it's a really, really good book. Check it out on Geopolitical.com. I talk about it thoroughly. You could be lean for the rest of your life. Okay, I'm gonna do all the super chats, but I will do, of course, non-super chats as usual. Thank you, Toulouse. You're a gentleman and a scholar. Muhammad Magzi says, hey coach, I bought last week strong and stable back for life and I have nothing yet. Is this normal? Message you everywhere. That's from Muhammad. Muhammad, you just have to log into your account and go to my videos. That's it. You don't receive anything in the mail. You don't receive, it's all digital. It's all of, you log in, you put your credentials, you log in. There's a section called my videos. You click on it and then the video is there. The one you bought is there. It's automatically there. If it's not the case, if there's some glitch, which there isn't, it's you. 100% it's you. Write an email on jujiclub.com and I'm going to make sure tomorrow, I'm going to make sure that the staff has double check for your email because I will tell you, your video is there 100%. Salam, I've just made it to your live for the first time ever. I woke up from lower back pain. It hurts so much. I think I might come from being folded while having people in triangles. That's from Alibaba. Alibaba, 80% of people are going to experience back pain, severe back pain. It's such an important thing. You got to learn all about your back. Okay, so again, I'm not going to keep talking about the program, but just check out Strong and Stable Back. Okay, I got to grandfather this question for now. And just tell you guys, if you have back pain, shoulder pain, neck pain, I've done it, guys. I've built a whole system, strong and stable system. Check it out. Go to jujiclub.com and pick it up. Okay, but we got to now do some fresh and new questions. Should Stipe versus Jones be replaced by Aspinall versus Jones? That's from Port Film Co. You know what? That's a good question. I want to see all those fights. I want to see Stipe versus Jones. I want to see Jones versus Stipe. I want to see Aspinall versus Jones. I want to see Aspinall versus Stipe. I want to see all those fights. If I had to pick one, the ultimate fight, I would pick Jones versus Aspinall. However, Miocic, he's paid his dues. I think he should either fight Aspinall or Jones. Whichever one is going to answer the call. Those are all epic fights. We got to do them all. Coach, would you say you use K-guard in every role? ? That's from James Peltier. I would say almost yes. Like if I'm playing guard, sometimes you roll and you don't end up on the bottom. You start on top and you finish the whole round. You were on top. It can't happen. But when I'm on the bottom, if I'm on the bottom in a round, I would say a large majority of time I use K-guard. In my opinion, it's the strongest, most reliable guard. Gi, no gi, MMA. It's the best guard. Like, if you know the basics, armbar, triangle, omoplata, and the guy defends those moves, he's giving you K-guard. If you're playing De La Hiva and the guy starts defending the classic moves, K-guard seems to always be there. I find it so strong. It's so reliable, and if the guy's bigger and stronger than you, it doesn't really matter. It works. It's so reliable. I think it's absolutely my favorite guard. Coach, what are your thoughts on Candace Owens versus Rabbi Unholy Shmuley? That's from Zuhaib. Guys, I saw that interview today. I listened to the whole thing. My goodness gracious, man. Is the world going insane? First of all, I got to tell you guys something. The guy Shmuley, he only just ad hominem. Ad hominem in philosophy. Okay, guys, don't forget I have a background in philosophy. I graduated in philosophy. This is my domain, epistemology. We call it poisoning the well. You start talking bad about your opponent. You have an interlocutor. The other person's your interlocutor, and you just start insulting that person. This person is like so. This person's evil. This person's bad. This person's prejudiced. He's just like bah, 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 machine gun. He starts saying her father-in-law even doesn't agree with her. So what? Address the point. This is what we call an ad hominem attack. You start attacking the person's credentials. She starts right off the bat on holy schmoly, like always on holy schmoly. She's a racist. She's a bigot. She's anti-Semitic. He named her every bad name in the book. He didn't address any points. Thank goodness Piers Morgan actually tells him, hey man, listen, you just popped off all these ad hominems, man. Like, I thought we weren't going to do this. I thought we were going to have a real debate here. I thought we were going to have and Candace Owens, guys, I'll tell you something. I don't know too much about Candace Owens. So I don't know what all her views are or anything like that. However, she stayed calm. I have to give it to her. She stayed very, very calm. She just stood there looking at him. And I'll tell you something. As somebody who's formally trained in logic, I've been studying logic for 20 years. Okay, I'm not trying to say that I know everything. I'm far from it. Okay, the more you learn, the more questions you have. Okay, believe me, I understand that truth and logic is such a complex thing. No one human being can truly wrap their mind around it. I'm coming to you guys from that angle. Okay, but I could tell you something. Her arguments were way more convincing, way more professional, way more articulate. Case in point, she says, like, Israel has dropped more tonnage than in Dresden. And he's like, what are you saying? Just because he started disputing the fact. Then she used her computer to, you want to know the sources? She gave him like 4 or 5 sources. I looked it up myself. I started Googling it myself. Yes, it's a fact, okay? Because Dresden wasn't as long as of a war, or a campaign, I should say, a bombing campaign. Gaza, I think, was like 70,000 tons, and Dresden was like 4,000 tons, like uncomparable. The two are not comparable. Don't quote my exact numbers because I'm doing it from memory, and I didn't lock it in my memory. She fact-checked him, and he started spitting out. And then after that, he leaves a tweet saying that, she cheated. She brought a computer. You asked her to give you a source. She looked up the source. She read articles. Okay, we read articles. We listen to the news. We hear data. We don't remember the source. So you're asking her to check the source. That's what she did. He started saying she cheated. She brought a computer to the debate, and Piers Morgan let her. Man, you asked her for a source. She went there. She gave you a source. The guy had a meltdown. Complete meltdown. He's trying, he was committing what we call the historian's fallacy, because when the English bombed the Germans, we didn't have a full Geneva Convention. The Geneva Convention had started, but it wasn't cemented yet. We had 4 more famous Geneva Conventions after that, and they cemented it. The world came together and said, look, we're gonna live by these laws. Okay. At the time, there wasn't those laws. Still, I think what happened in Dresden was evil. Why? Because they bombed indiscriminately. They were killing women, children, soldiers, whatever, because they were bombing at night. They didn't want to risk their pilots, so they're bombing indiscriminately. Meaning, hey, if a bomb lands on a 5-year-old girl, too bad. Okay. Again, I wasn't there. I wasn't reading the situation. But personally, could I drop a bomb on women and children? Personally, I would never. Okay? Now, it's a very hot topic. People dispute whether it was right or wrong. People dispute whether Hiroshima was right or wrong. I personally think it's wrong. Killing 70,000 people, the first bomb in Hiroshima, I think was wrong. And then people say, yes, but it would have cost 1 million more lives, 1 million more soldiers, American lives. I still think there was other ways around it. Embargoes, demonstrate the power, show them that they can, target their military bases, etc. Not killing women and children. I just find there's never a good excuse for that. Okay. And I don't care what side we're talking about. People are like, what about this? Yeah, I agree. They were bad too. Anybody who kills women and children, I don't care what their politics are, what their religion is, what their color of their skin is, how tall they are, what their favorite ice cream color is. It's wrong. Okay, so please make sure when I say that, I'm talking about everybody. Okay. Unholy schmoly, like, highly unimpressive, just insult after insult. Candace Owens was cool, calm. She answered him beautifully. And I think she crushed him, honestly. I thought she crushed him. I thought he embarrassed himself. I thought he embarrassed his position, his nation. I absolutely found him to be a very despicable human being. And I've heard him talk, and every time you hear him talk, man, it's like right away ad hominem. He's like a little weasel. He's like a little weasel that survives by just kind of like doing like little evil things. You know, he's just a disgusting, unappealing human being. And I thought she did amazing dealing with such a weasel of a human being. And I also heard that this viral podcast that's going around right now, it's called, these guys are called Two Nice Jewish Boys podcast. And they were talking about how if they had a button and they can push that button, theoretical, obviously, and it would annihilate every Palestinian, they would push it right away, no thinking about it. Every Israeli would want to push that button. We don't give a shit about kids who have polio, Palestinian kids with polio. He was saying how, if when we go out to clubs and we dance, they should put a live feed about Palestinians suffering in their tents, how it makes our night even better. Like, I was so disgusted of what I was hearing. These two idiots are inciting violence and saying nobody cares about Palestinians. They should all die a slow death. And their death and suffering is entertainment. It's entertainment. It makes their lives better. They enjoy life better. So then they go out to eat. If they see, he was saying hypothetically, if you saw a live feed of Palestinians starving, living in their tents, it makes me even happier. By that logic, you just justified Nazi Germany. Nazi Germany made the same type of argument. Actually, I would say they weren't as forward. Like, insulting your fellow man to that level is despicable. Like, I understand that I expect that, I should say, from politicians, because politicians most of them are vile human beings. However, from two guys doing a podcast, that's absurd, man. You're a civilian yourself. What if tomorrow there's a foreign invader and they're like, hey, let's murk everybody here, let's kill them all, the women, the children, let's bash them over the head, let's smash them, let's poison them, and you're like, they're pleading for your life and your children's life, and they're like, we enjoy, actually, even if you were existing in a foreign land, we would rather see you suffer and die. It gives us imagine he got a taste of his own medicine. He would realize, wow, what a fool I was to think like that, to act like that. I can't wait to see him one day when he's on the other side of the coin. It's truly despicable. It's sociopathic. And a person with such little empathy, to me, is subhuman. That's just disgusting. You're inhuman. You're inhuman to say something like that. And it's not a genetic thing. It's just like, you can't be a human being if you think like that. To me, you're a filthy, how do you say it? Animal. And that's not a general statement. I'm talking about that particular person. Actually, those two particular people. Okay, guys, I popped it off. There's a lot of super chats. I'm always doing non-super chats as well. Coach, what do you think we've been lied like crazy regarding the World War II? Coach, do you think we've been lied like crazy regarding the World War II? That's from Squared Circle. I'm sure, listen, I've watched so many documentaries on World War II. I love to watch documentaries on World War II. It's crazy how much there is to know about World War II. World War II is this crazy, never-ending story. There's always something to be said about World War II. It's an insane story. Yes, there's a lot of things that we have to have been lied to because there's so many controversial issues. There's so many controversial issues. One major controversial issue is how Hitler died. Did he really shoot himself in the head in the bunker? Did he really take the cyanide pill and kill himself? One American got to, he had 1 hour with the evidence. So the Russians have the evidence. Maybe like 10 years ago, they allowed one American 1 hour with the evidence in the room. He took skull fragments. He took the shape of the skull, supposedly Hitler's skull, etc. He took all the data and he realized, he said, look, the skull that's supposed to be Hitler's, I think it's a woman's skull. It's not Hitler's skull. What? Are you saying now that Hitler didn't die in the bunker? He's saying it's not Hitler's skull. Who knows what happened to Adolf Hitler's body, or if he actually did die. I spoke to one expert, military expert, and he was telling me it would have been very hard for Hitler to leave Berlin. Very difficult. By plane, by U-boat, he was surrounded. It would have been incredibly, incredibly difficult. However, not impossible. Coach, what do you think about the jump rope for martial arts? That's from Samuel Kamel. I think it's good, but you don't have a lot of time in MMA to do so many things, right? You have to in MMA you have so much to do, so you really want to do the things that give you the most bang for your buck, okay? The most bang for your time. You're going to spend an hour in the gym, an hour and a half in the gym, 2 hours in the gym. Make the most of that time. And I think jump rope is not the best use of your time. I think it's good for certain people. I think it's good for boxers because boxers don't have that much to do when compared to MMA, okay? Boxers, of course, there's a lot to do in the ring, but everything boxers do, MMA guys got to do. Plus Muay Thai. Plus wrestling. Plus ground game. Plus ground and pound. So there's so much to do on the MMA side. It's crazy. I don't think jump rope is the best use of our time. I've said that in the past. A lot of people give me grief over it, but I stand by it. I didn't use jump rope with many of the elite fighters, and some liked it, so I would let them do it. Warm up with it. It's fine. I'm not against it. I just think there are better ways to work your footwork. Assalamu alaikum, Coach. My architectural thesis in Sydney, focusing on designing structures that represent refugees and the displaced. Could you recommend any books on the philosophy of identity? That's from Tarviz Ashraf. Wow, that's amazing, man. Congratulations to Tarviz. Philosophy of identity. That's a good one. Descartes' Meditations actually has a very good segment on identity. How do you identify something? He talks about a ball of wax. You can, like, a wax goes to different shapes and he says it has a different sound. Like, okay, so let's say you take a candle and the candle melts down. It's still the same wax. It's a different shape, but it's still the same wax, right? And he says, look, how come you have this continuity? The wax has this continuity. It's a different shape. It might be slightly a different color, but you still identify it as the same wax. Okay, so he goes into a whole thing about the essence. Everything has an essence. If you change the essence of something, you've changed that thing. Okay, so let's say, for instance, I don't know, look at this giant mug of water I have. Okay, I have this giant mug of water. If I were to break the handle on this mug, okay, will it still be the same glass of water? You'd be like, yeah, it's the same glass of water. Even though the handle's broken, there's a continuity. Well, because I broke the handle, that means I didn't change the essence of this mug. There's something about this mug that goes beyond the handle. There's something about it that you still identify it as the same mug. Okay, what if I melted the mug down? I mixed it with metal and I made a chair out of it. You'd be like, okay, that's not the mug anymore. Well, I took the same materials, I mixed it with other stuff, and you're like, okay, it's not the same mug. I don't identify it as the mug anymore. Well, I must have changed its essence at one point. So he starts going into, what's the essence of things? Aristotle also, if I send you the classics, though, I think you're going to tear your hair out because the classics are boring to read. But also Aristotle was very obsessed about what's the essence of things. So for instance, if you look at every knife in the world, they all share in the same essence. If I give you a plastic knife or a metal knife, you're going to be like, hey, those are both knives. They share in this thing called knife. Now, if I take the plastic knife and I melt it down and I turn it into a fork, you're going to be like, hey, that same amount of plastic that was a knife once upon a time is no longer a knife. I now see it as a fork. Okay, but what if I made the change from knife to fork very slowly? Imagine the knife it's a plastic knife, and I kind of like chipped away the knife just to make it like a two-tongue fork. But it was still sharp on the side. It still cuts like a knife, but it has like a fork also. You'd be like, it's still the knife, man. It's still the knife. Okay, well, what if I start getting a third-prong fork? Now it's a three-prong fork, and I file down the cutting side. You'd be like, oh, it's not a knife no more. So they flirt with that line. What makes something different. You have to kill something we call the essence. Now, if you look at a human being, of course, this is all because they're going to point at the human being. They're going to be like, look, Coach Zahabi, I could show you a picture of Coach Zahabi when he was a kid. Here he is, 6 years old in his diaper. And when he was, 6 months old in his diaper, well, look at him. He's completely different now. They'll tell you, look, Coach Zahabi, when he was 6 months old, he had every single cell in his body was different. Literally every single cell in his body was different. The body regenerates every cell after they say about 7 years. So not one single physical thing about Coach Zahabi when he was 6 months old is true about him today. His whole physiology has been replaced. However, there's a continuity. You still identify those two people as the same person. There's a continuity. Even though the physical body has been completely transformed. That's why people say, okay, the essence of a human being cannot be the body. The essence of a human being is this thing we call the soul. Now, different cultures call it different things. I remember Christopher Hitchens said once, he said, I don't have a body, I am a body. So he was saying completely opposite of what Descartes was saying. He was saying, look, there's no soul, I'm just this lump of flesh. Aristotle, Descartes, and a whole host of other thinkers, okay, they say, no, you can't be just your body, because your body literally is not the same. It's literally something else. Now, I would tell you, whereas your body is a system. And this is where we come into emergence. This is really complicated stuff, but imagine every single cell in your body is different physically. However, you're still the same person. Why? Well, I would say, look, we changed one piece at a time, and that system, the personality he went through changes, he grew as a person. There's a continuity, but that continuity is only known by the mind. This is very interesting stuff. It's only known by the mind. It's never known by it's never known by the senses empirically. We never see it. We never see it with the senses. We never touch it. We never smell it. We never hear it. We never taste it. We don't have any empirical evidence. We only have observation. We only have it. We only detect it by the mind. We project from our mind that this person is the same person. It's mental activity. This is huge, because later on, as you go higher in philosophy, you realize that everything is mental activity. Everything that you see as continuity, everything that you label around the world, you're going to realize, oh, that's all in my head. It's all in my mind. And then you realize, oh, everything is in the mind. That's what we call idealism, okay? Which idealism is a very powerful school of thought, considered to be irrefutable. It's never been refuted. And I have people write me all the time when I say this. Oh, I can refute it. Dude, don't tell me. Write a paper. Publish a paper. Publish a paper, and philosophers will praise you around the world for centuries. They're going to talk about you. They're going to be like the guy who figured it out, who explained to us how he can refute idealism. Because here's the thing. I'll tell you, 100% of you who send in your objections to idealism, it's stuff that's been seen. It's stuff that's been destroyed. Philosophers have destroyed these objections. Okay, so it's not impressive. It might be impressive to you in your mind, but once you put it out there in the arena, you're going to realize 10 million other guys tried that argument, and they all got scrapped. They all got destroyed. They all got chopped down to bits. Okay, so I would tell you guys, very importantly, that identity is essence. Every object, everything out there has an essence. And that essence is hard to define. Most of Plato's works is trying to define the essence of things. And you'll notice that he almost never succeeds. Almost never. When you try to define the essence of something, you see we can never give it an exact definition. That's why you have this whole gender studies craziness. Because you can't define perfectly what a woman is. Oh, if you can't define it perfectly, then I guess I can decide for myself. If it's not 100% objective, I could decide for myself. So they build a whole genre of academia around this. Well, guess what? Just because we can't define something perfectly doesn't mean we cannot decipher it. So if you show me a picture of 100 men and women, I could tell you which one's a man, which one's a woman. It's descriptive. It's observable. Now, they're going to tell you, yeah, you can't observe my psyche, though. In my psyche, I feel like so and so. Okay, that's not observable. That's up to you. That's your own personal thing. However, it doesn't mean I have to now alter my reality. What else we got here? How liberal are you compared to traditional Islamic countries? That's from Port Film Co-op. I'll tell you, I'm more on the liberal side of Muslims, even though I'm still very traditional. I just think that a lot of Islam is confused with culture. They confuse Islam with culture. So I'm not. I love culture. I love culture from all different parts of the world. I'm just not obsessed with forcing people into culture. I think you should exercise the culture you want. Okay, but Islam is very, very. How should I say? It's very. There's so much more halal than there is haram. Halal is like what you're allowed to do, and haram is what you're not allowed to do. There's so little haram, like it's really like a small amount. So for me, I find it easy. However, I feel that a lot of it is self-imposed because they want to like maintain a certain culture. So I think a lot of times it's more self-imposed than anything else. Guys, I got to open up a window, so give me please 1 second. Okay, gentlemen, where we got here? Salam, coach. Would boxing help with improving quicker in Muay Thai, or is it smarter to stick to Muay Thai only because of their stance, kicks, etc.? That's from MMA. I'll tell you something. I trained with Sagat Pechendi, the 10-time world champion, and if we did 10 rounds, it would be 5 rounds boxing, 5 rounds Muay Thai. He always mixed Muay Thai with boxing. Sagat, for those of you who don't know who Sagat is, he's arguably the greatest Muay Thai fighter of all time. In everybody's top 15 list, he's always there. Okay. I trained with his whole family. I spent time with Sagat personally. I trained with his nephew. I was very close with his family. I spent my summers in their home, literally in their home. Okay. I was like part of the family. He's probably the most talented fighter I've ever trained with in my entire life. Sagat is arguably the greatest of all time. And when we trained, guys, I'll tell you something. I've never seen somebody hit the bag so hard in my entire life. Pound for pound, the hardest hitter I've ever seen is Sagat. The Street Fighter game, the bad guy in the Street Fighter game, Sagat, the guy with the patch, that's my trainer. I'll tell you guys something. He was one of the most talented human beings, the best trainers, one of the technical master, incredible human being. And he would do always half boxing, half Muay Thai. We'd start with boxing, and then the other half, we were training 3 hours, an hour and a half of boxing, then an hour and a half of Muay Thai. I thought it was a brilliant formula. I practice it till this day. I think it's genius. He was also an incredible karaoke singer. Incredible. What a talented human being. Let me tell you guys something about Sagat. You know, before the Thais fight, they do a dance, right? You know, they do their dance. And Sagat used to win Best Dancer. And I tell you, it's called the weight, okay? Is it called? Yeah, sorry. I'm forgetting what the dance is called now. Anyways, when they do the dance, I'll tell you, he was amazing at it. Amazing. He's an incredible dancer. Okay, like, I'm not talking about like Dancing with the Stars. I'm talking about like the pre-fight ceremony that they do. He would win almost, not every year, but many years in a row. He would win the best ceremonial dance, and he was the best fighter, and he was this incredible karaoke guy. Like, incredible. So before the fight, he would do this incredible ceremonial dance. He'd kick anybody's butt that he was fighting, and then he would take everybody out to karaoke and sing them a song. He was one of the most talented human beings I've ever met. And he even drove me to the airport once. He came, he trained me, took me to a karaoke bar, sang like, I don't know, like 50, 30 songs. Then he drove me to the airport. Like, an incredible human being, like just a fascinating human being. You have no right to talk about the ad hominem fallacy. You are an MMA coach. That's from Young Bahas. Young Bass, you are what we call an ignoramus. Okay, you're committing what we call the genetic fallacy. The genetic fallacy, let me educate you, sir, is when you say something is not true because of its source. Okay, now because I'm an MMA coach doesn't mean I didn't go to school, doesn't mean I didn't get a diploma. I got a college degree and a university degree, and I studied logic for over 20 years. I studied logic on a regular basis. I study philosophy on a regular basis. Just because you do MMA doesn't mean you can't be smart or intelligent or study. Okay, so that's a really boneheaded thing to say. Please find another chat room or adjust yourself. Logic isn't everything. That's from Joey Pasino. That is very true. Logic is not everything. Is cardio genetic? That's from Nate Pribble. Partly yes. Partly yes. We were not the good guys in World War II. Not even close. That's from Port Film Co-op. I can't comment. I'm drinking water. Look, I will tell you, I don't know who the good guy was in World War II. Everybody was just out to fight to get on top of the heap. Big Moroccan fan. I trained BJJ under Professor Pedro Suarez. What is your opinion on his BJJ style? I'm following your SNN back, your strong and stable back program. Can you talk about your experience healing sciatica, please? That's from Hams B. Pedro Suarez, he's a legend. I've gotten to work with him many years ago. He's a legend, hardcore, old school. He trained with all the originals who's who. Okay, the first generation of the who's who. And he's a no-nonsense BJJ guy. He doesn't like any of these fancy guards. He just teaches how to crush them. And he's an awesome human being, a genius in MMA. One time, he came into the gym. He was training a professional fighter in my gym. And he just showed up one day just for fun. And he taught a seminar for like 3 hours. The guys loved it. And he was like, you see how much passion you have in jiu-jitsu. Incredible person. Please give him a salute from me from TriStar Gym. Tell him I say hello. Sciatic nerve, I won't go into it too much because I've talked about this in the past so many times, but sciatic nerve is crippling. I used to go to bed and couldn't get 3 hours sleep in a row. I would always wake up with pain and I would go back to sleep, but I'd be lucky if I can go to sleep for 2 hours before waking up in pain. I almost considered stopping training completely. I went into a deep dive on how to cure my sciatic nerve, and it's all in strong and stable back. Okay. What's up, coach? After your workout, you feel a little bit of pain the next day. I learned about DOMS, which means delayed onset muscle soreness. Okay, there you go. After your workout, you feel pain next day. Is it normal? Question mark. That's from Shiz. Shiz. Look, sometimes yes, okay? But if you feel pain and you can't train the next day, you overdid it, in my opinion, okay? You should feel a little bit once in a while, some soreness. Like today, I took the evening off, believe it or not, because I felt I overdid it. Usually, I'll be in the gym at night, okay? So I went in the gym during the day. I trained a couple of pros. I gave a class. And then tonight, I was feeling I just don't have the energy to go, so I didn't go. Tomorrow, I plan on training twice. That tells me that yesterday, I did too much. You know, I had to ease off. Because don't forget, the formula is stress plus recovery equals adaptation. You have to recover. So if I train so hard that 8 hours of sleep is not going to allow me to recover, that means the next day I cannot train, okay? I have to allow my body to recover. I have to go through the recovery process. You cannot skip the recovery process. Now, I know a lot of coaches out there are going to tell you, no, you got to do it like this, you got to do it like that. I'm talking if you're training naturally, if you're not taking synthetic hormones, you have to do it my way. I know that if I'm training an athlete and he's on all sorts of steroids, he doesn't have to do it my way. I get that. That's this part I totally get. So a lot of times you're going to hear coaches talk, but really they're not telling you about the steroids. You know, that's why I find it refreshing when coaches actually admit. I remember Louis Simmons, he wrote an article once about recovery. What's the top ways to recover from your workouts? the number one on his list was anabolic steroids. I mean, at least the guy's being honest. He's like, look, I give my guys anabolic steroids. Of course I do. Now, I personally do not, okay? But that's why I would tell you, you can't train like crazy. You can't train so hard. Because if you're on anabolic steroids, yes, you get stronger, but you got a lot more recovery. Recovery is super key. I would tell you, look, you should get into a beat where you can train every day. It's sustainable, and you need only 1 or 2 days off in the week. If you're training a sport that requires skill, you're developing skill. Now, if you're bodybuilding, you don't have to do it that way. If you're bodybuilding, you can lift so hard that on Monday, you lift hard that you can't lift again until Wednesday. That's fine. Because as you're resting, you're eating, your muscles are growing. That's fine. But if you're trying to develop a skill, you need plenty of hours on the mat. How do you improve a BJJ gym with only white belts to roll with? I am the only blue belt, question mark. That's from FNU. FN, look, I would tell you, put yourself in bad situations. Okay, so I would tell you, like, after you swept them, after you've taken their backs and you've done all that, usually what I like to do is, like, the first part of the round, I like to beat them up a little bit, like take their back, armbar them, just to get my practice in. And then I'll give them a good position. Like, I'll let them half guard, I'll let them take my back, and I'll escape. So I make the round challenging for me because I'm giving them almost a full armbar. Okay, let me get out from here. I'm developing my offense and my defense, Okay, so, and plus it gives them a chance to sharpen up their finishes, could get into different positions, because it's not fun if I'm the one always on top, crushing them, subbing them over and over again. It could be very repetitive. Make it challenging. So sweep them, pass them, sub them, and then maybe let the guy on your back and try to see if you can escape. Make it challenging. Please, coach, best book to combat modern degeneracy and to become a deep thinker. That's from Frank. Frank. That will be one magical book. All in one book. Maybe I can give it to you in one page. That would be even better. Look, Frank, unfortunately, it's not that simple. You have to read a lot of books, okay? Because there's so much to think about. It's like saying, hey, coach, give me the one workout that's going to make me a UFC world champion, in 6 months. It's like, whoa, there's no one workout for that. We don't have that technology. It's kind of the same thing with books, You got to kind of study philosophy slowly. And, of course, philosophy is a very important element, okay? So read the classics, guys. The thing is, people always ask me for books. I just read the classics. It's really about the classics. Ben Trades sending me all a bunch of hearts, man. Well, thank you. Such a romantic guy. Salam, coach. I struggle with being too timid / relaxed or too aggressive in training / competition. How do I keep my emotions in check and find balance? Question mark. That's from Mustafa Charari. Well, I'll tell you something, Mustafa. If you're going too hard or too soft, it's kind of weird. Usually it's one or the other. Okay, but you're saying in practice you're too soft. In competition, you're too aggressive. Well, I'll tell you something. Number one thing is that you realize that. That's great. Okay, so I would tell you, look, when you're training or you're in combat sports, you have to stay composed. Composure is huge. I always give this thought experiment. Imagine you're going home and you're going to unlock your front door. You take your key out of your pocket, you stick it in the keyhole, and you turn it, you unlock the door, and you open it, and you do it every day, and you don't think about it. It's super simple. Then one day you come home, it's late at night, you're about to take your key out of your pocket, and you're going to stick it into the keyhole, and you're going to unlock the door, and some criminal jumps out the bush. And he's like, puts a gun to your head. He's like, open the door right now before I kill you. And you're like, you're like super scared. Like, imagine this is a real scenario. You take the key out of your pocket, and your hand is shaking, and you're not able to unlock the door anymore. You forgot how to unlock a door. Why? Because you're thinking about death. You're thinking about, hey, am I ever going to see my mother again? Am I ever going to go see my coworkers again? Am I going to die? Is this how I die? You're having all these crazy, you're in shock that this can happen. Now, I'm being totally serious about what I'm saying right now. Okay. Totally serious. So Imagine, I come home, I take the key out of my pocket, I'm going to put the key in the keyhole, and a burglar jumps out with a gun, and I chop him to the throat, disarm him, beat him up, slap him in the head, beat the hell out of him. And you're there, coach, how the hell did you do that? Oh, let me tell you why. Because every day I come home, when I unlock my door, I imagine a guy jumping out of that bush. Like, coach, well, that's insane. Are you crazy? Who thinks like that? Well, I do. Okay. That would sound totally insane, but just imagine as a thought experiment. You have guy A who has no threat. He opens the door. Guy B has a threat, but never imagined this can happen. He's caught off guard. He's shocked, and he's having this existential crisis. He can't even do the simplest task. And the other guy, the third guy, is like, I karate chopped him, kicked him in the kneecap, shot him with his own gun, disarmed him, went inside and baked a cake. It's just another day for him. How do you get from level 1 to level 3? Well, the samurai used to, and I'm not joking here, I'm totally serious. The samurais used to visualize all sorts of ways they could die. Because, they think, okay, well, if we go through this canyon, our enemies can drop boulders on us. Okay, if we flank this way, we can hit with arrow. Like, they would imagine every scenario where they die. Because don't forget, the samurais, if they lose the battle, they would commit suicide. Like, one loss, you die. Okay, so literally, if a samurai lost a battle on the field, he would have to kill himself because he was dishonored. Okay, that was their culture. One of their mental exercises, now I don't think you should rehearse all sorts of ways you can die, but you get what I'm saying here. The reason why you're so temperamental is because of an experience. Now, of course, you're gonna gain experience as you train, but you could also do it mentally. You got to picture people trying to take you down, sprawling them out. You got to picture people trying to choke you, and how you have to know the escapes. You got to visualize them. You're constantly visualizing the response you want. Okay, now your brain doesn't know the difference between what you're visualizing and what you're experiencing. It cannot decipher between the two. Okay, so if it could, when you were dreaming and falling off a cliff, you wouldn't jump up and wake up out of your sleep sweating with your heart pounding. Okay, your mind, when you visualize something over and over again, all sorts of scenarios, you're gonna find composure. You're gonna find confidence. You're gonna find, it's just teaching the body and the brain what you want. Okay, so let's say, I don't know, I'm picturing passing the guard and somebody throws up a triangle. Well, I know how to block it, and I visualized it many times, and that's what I'm gonna do. So just visualization, visualizing yourself in all sorts of scenarios. Like, I had a major phobia. I know I've talked about this before, but I had a major phobia about flying. Major, like crazy. And I was so embarrassed to even talk about it. Now I could freely talk about it, but I will tell you guys something. I had an irrational fear about flying. I would get on an airplane, and I've flown hundreds of times. It's crazy how much I've been on an airplane. I had a really bad experience once. Then after that, I had a crazy phobia. I'm telling you, I would be on the airplane. Everything was fine. The flight was flying smoothly, and my heart rate was like at 190. I was sweating. I was like dreading another bad scenario. And I was like, man, this flight's like another 3 hours. Like, am I gonna be here? Like, I would get off the flight. I had lost like 7-8 pounds. Like, it was crazy. It was insane. Now, look, over the years, I got over it. But one way I did it is when I was in a car driving. My wife would be driving. I would be in the passenger seat. I would visualize myself in the airplane, and I was sitting in the seat. Every time she'd hit a bump, I'd feel like I'd pretend I'm in an airplane, and I'd pretend, like, I'm telling you, you visualize it. I would do all sorts of visualizations of being in an airplane, turbulence and all that. I would think about it all the time, and I would try to feel normal, and this will help develop composure. I know it's a crazy thing to say, but it takes practice. Like you can build your muscles with iron, you can build your mind with imagination. Slam coach, I had my second boxing fight and tried sitting down on my punches more, but I had to fight a giant, and a giant of a man so overreaching was inevitable. Would you watch it? It's only 6 minutes. That's from man something. Yes, send it to me. But don't send it in super chat. Just put it in the chat room. I'm looking for it. Mr. Manko. I'm waiting for you. Send me the link. Kasim, I will get you. Give me a little bit here. Did you watch Historion? Yes, I did, Hassan. Thank you for that recommendation. An incredible channel. Manco Antonio, you missed my super chat. Holy moly, everybody's telling me I missed their super chats. Thoughts on Yuko Norris comments about roids recently? Yuko Norris comments. Let me see. Who is Yuko Norris? Steroids are awesome. Is this the one? No, it's not. His name's not Yuko Norris. Yuko Norris. I spelled it correctly, so I don't know. I don't know who Yuko Norris is. I spelled it correctly the way you spelled it. How about Yuko Norris on roids? No Yuko Norris. I think you'd have to give me the correct spelling. I can't find it. Did you finish Christopher Langen's CTMU thoughts? That's from Kasim. Yes, actually I did. Guys, oh man, this is such an interesting question. Thank you, Kasim. Kasim, you're a true gentleman and a scholar. Look, it's incredibly complicated. I want to go over it again. But he seems to be very similar to Hegel's worldview. Very similar to Hegel's review, but he never cites Hegel. He never cites him. Here's the problem with Christopher Langen. And I was thinking of actually doing an interview with him. I was actually thinking about reaching out to him because I have a bigger channel than most guys he's been interviewed with. So I think I could get him on. But the thing is, I was like, I don't know if my listeners are going to be interested in this because he uses a lot of... and I don't mean this lightly, okay? I'm not saying you guys aren't... I don't like it. He uses the most complex language. He has a very, very high vocabulary. Like, we're talking about 99.9 percentile, his vocabulary. He uses what sounds a lot like a word salad. He's using very complex terms. I found myself researching words. Like, it was complicated, man. He could have used a much more simple language. Like, and it's his... I'll give it to him. His views are incredibly sophisticated and profound. He's a very intelligent man. Guys, for those of you who don't know, Christopher Langen, he's one of the highest IQ individuals in the world, and he wrote his worldview. What is reality? It's too complicated to go over here. It's actually incredibly deep, okay? But he basically says, look, reality is self-described. He's basically trying to say we're all just a strata of God, which is very Hegelian. Very Hegelian. That's why I would love to have him on this channel and ask him a bunch of questions and kind of go dig deeper in his view. But he basically saying, look, you know how it's kind of hard to say, but because any which way I say it, people are going to take it the wrong way. How could I explain it? He's saying, look, he's a big believer in God. He thinks God is undeniable. He's arguably the highest IQ living person today. But he basically tries to say, look, we're all a reflection of God, but each one of us is a strata, so a little reflection, a mirror of God. So you have, in the gospel, in the Abrahamic traditions, man is made in the image of God. He'll say, look, you're a reflection of God. All of us together, this is very Hegelian, guys. We're going to keep cross-examining each other. We're going to keep improving as a species. We're getting closer and closer and closer and closer to mirroring God. We started really down low, almost like animals, or almost like unsophisticated, almost like back. Now we're thinking deeper and deeper, and we're thinking about higher and higher things and higher truths. Look, earlier we're talking about essence and this and that. And we're climbing up and we're climbing up and we're getting more and more sophisticated and we're getting more and more. The way Hegel put it was even better than Christopher Langen. He's like, look, you have one position, I have another position. We argue and then we kind of find a middle ground. So the thesis, the antithesis, and then Hegel calls it the synthesis. And then, okay, we found the middle ground. Now we found another difference and we hash that out in debate. We debate. and then we find another common ground, and then we fight again over something, another difference, and we keep graduating 1 degree higher, keep graduating another degree higher, and another degree higher, and another degree higher. And then we start, we're so much better than we used to be, that we start to kind of reflect God. That's not the best explanation. My explanation I just gave right there is very raw, and it doesn't do any justice to his philosophy. Okay, so I want to make that clear. He goes way deeper in that, but it's just so complicated to explain, and I have to review it again because I understand his conclusions, but I just have to kind of reread it and re-understand it because of how he got to those conclusions. He's a fascinating guy. I gotta tell you that I would love to cross-examine him because a lot of things he said were just assertions, and he didn't explain why he believes those things. But he's a very sophisticated human being. Injured a rib in jiu-jitsu. Any tips for recovery? That's from Concealed Grappling. Take your time with injured ribs. They take a lot of time. I would tell you hot, cold therapy. So go in a cold plunge, sauna, because there's not a lot of manual exercise you can do for ribs. I would still like try to massage the muscles in my rib, but usually it's cartilage. I would tell you hot, cold therapy really hits the spot. Salam, I'm against guy-girl friendships. My partner thinks it's okay. Should I stay with her? She says she's never had feelings for her BFF of 4 years plus. Eesh. That's from Mediocre King. Look, Mediocre King, I got to tell you. Oh, wait, you got a bunch of comments. Let's see. Best of luck, brother. She might not be the guy. She might not, but the guy might. Is the guy gay at least? Alibaba says, ban her from having male friends, bro. Make it a big deal. If she cares more about him than you, she's got to go. That's from Alibaba. Alibaba, not too far from the truth. Look, here's the thing, Mediocre King. You got to ask yourself. First of all, your name is Mediocre King. That's a red flag right there. But besides that, let's put that to bed for now. What's her cultural background? Did she grow up where that's normal? That could be part of it. What do you like? What mode of life do you live by? Like, okay, I'm Muslim, so it wouldn't be right. With my worldview, it doesn't exist. You might not be. You might have, like, I don't know, a more liberal stance. You might be two people from a very liberal background, secular background. I don't know. I don't know your situation. But here's the thing. In your culture and in her culture, is that the norm? From my worldview, I think it's no bueno. It's not good because sooner or later, statistically speaking, it's going to happen. So something's going to happen. And I think a girl, when she's in love with a guy, she doesn't think like this. Like, she's in love with a guy, that's it. She loves this guy. And she can't think about anybody else. Now, with a woman, in my opinion, I don't think it lasts forever. That stage in her honeymoon phase is not going to last forever. It's going to last for 3-4 years. And, of course, a lot of biologists will tell us, oh, that's just enough for her to mate and get offspring, and then she's off to, wherever. People will explain it that way biologically, but however, still, nonetheless, you can observe it, right? You could see a girl, she falls in love with a man. The first 2-3 years, she doesn't see a flaw in this relationship. After that, they start hitting harder times. She starts to realize, oh, my partner has flaws. And of course, it's the same thing for a man, right? The first 2-3 years, puppy love, new love, you're like, you're ecstatic, you're over the moon. You see no wrong in the other person. And then after a while, you start knowing, hey, you know what? She annoys me when she does this or that. Oh, you know what? This is starting to get on my nerves. The key in a relationship is to stay in that honeymoon phase. But it takes two people. If you want to stay in that honeymoon phase, and I'm a big believer in that, okay? I think it's really, really one of the great joys of life. Try to stay forever in that honeymoon phase. But to stay forever in that honeymoon phase, you got to do two things. One, you got to have a partner who also wants to do that. And two, you got to wipe your memory. What do I mean by wipe your memory? Well, think about it. Let's say you went on this roller coaster and you loved the roller coaster and it was fun and you had the best time. And then you did it again. Oh, it was fun, but not like the first time. And then you did it again and you're at the 50th roller coaster ride, the same roller coaster, and you're like, yeah, I know this turn is coming, and I predict. Oh yeah, I've done this loop-de-loop like 30,000 times already. You know what? Whatever. I could not do it tomorrow. I'm not that interested. I'm not as excited to go on this roller coaster. But if I could wipe your memory, and you could do it again for the first time, you'd be like, wow, this roller coaster is amazing. Okay, now the mind plays many tricks on you. You could play many tricks on the mind. You have to see your partner again as new. You gotta revive the relationship. You gotta do new things. It's always gotta be new. New is different, and you can exercise your mind in a way that it's new again to you. Because if I wiped your memory, you wouldn't have these feelings of, it's predictable. I know what's coming. I'm getting bored, etc. Like, I'll tell you something. Sometimes when I train, I feel like it's the same routine. One thing I like to do is like to have a new objective, or I learn a new technique that I'm going to try. I have to have something new, because if I don't have something new, I can't go through the same sequences. Like sometimes I do wrestling, grappling, the same duck under, the same armbar, the same, man, I'm like, I don't even want to do it anymore. Like I just did this. I literally been doing this for 20 plus years. I've been a black belt for more than 10 years now. Like, how many times am I going to do this leg lock sequence? Like, I'm going to go crazy if I do it again one more time. Another guy walks in the gym. It's just like, no, you got to make it new again. Now, back to your question. In my culture, in my tradition, that's a no bueno, no good. You got to sit down. You got to tell, look, if this relationship is serious, you got to cut off these ties. Because what's going to happen is you're going to be like, oh, yeah, you got a BFF guy friend. I'm going to have a girlfriend. I'm going to have a friend that's a girl. And then it's going to become a competition of who has more options. And you're not in a serious relationship. Now you're in a relationship where it's competitive. You're trying to one-up one another. Because here's the thing. Maybe one day you get into a fight with your girl. She has this other guy as an option. He's a standby for her. But you don't have a standby. So you break up. Oh, she's being consoled by this guy. You have nobody. So for her, it's easier to break up. So you're putting yourself at a disadvantage. Don't forget. It's the more options a woman has, the more she can let you go. So why should she have that and not you? Makes things unfair. Why don't I have 3-4 BFFs that, hey, if me and you are now going red, I can go into her arms. For me personally, in my tradition, this doesn't exist. So, I mean, you have to go by your way of life as well. Mediocre King, I don't see the super chat. Okay. Coach, I've bought all the Jiu-Jitsu Club instructionals. So good. Fire. I'm purple belt 10th Planet Vegas. No way. That's amazing, Kevin Yee. I'm in Vegas all the time. You should come train with me. How does one decide which instructional to focus on first? Question mark. Use code level up 50 off. Thank you, Kevin, man. You're a gentleman and a scholar. Look, I would tell you, do the first 3, 1, 2, 3. And then after that, it's a la carte. You have all the volumes and like you're in practice and you got caught in 50-50. Well, go check out the 50-50 video. Oh, you got caught with you guy got on your back and you couldn't escape. Go check out the back escape video. And you don't have to do the whole video. And don't forget, all my videos have one thing in common. The most important moves are first, and it's in that order. That's why it's advanced basics. I start with the most basic fundamental and then I get to advanced. It goes deeper and deeper. You need all the spectrum. Now, after you've done the first 3 volumes, I'm a big believer that after that you can explore them individually. But you got to explore them all, and it's a life journey. It's a really life journey. I have 25 volumes out. I have over 50 videos, 60 videos, I think, right now. But there's a new one coming out, Outside Heel Hook. Outside Heel Hook's another world. I did Inside Heel Hook, now it's Outside Heel Hook. You can't do it all in one day, right? So you got to kind of build slowly. Guys, don't forget, I'm always doing super chats and non-super chats. Coach, have you ever trained blindfolded like bro in Bloodsport? That's from Larry Bird. You're going to laugh, but sometimes when I roll, I close my eyes. Because I kind of feel the position. I kind of feel like, where's my weight? I kind of think, oh, you know, it would make more sense if I shifted this way. And I just kind of like try to feel what's going on instead of like using my eyes, because when you close your eyes, your balance is more challenged and you start realizing, hey, I'm off balance. Oh, look, the weight isn't shifting in this direction. Why didn't I ever see that before? It just kind of like stimulates you in a different way. Yukinori Akazawa said recently he was around roids at TriStar, which is why he did it. Let me link you a video in the chat where it was translated from Japanese. Okay, Yukinori. Yukinori is an old student of mine. Said recently he was around roids at TriStar. Okay, great. Send me that link. I'd love to see it. Yukinori Akazawa. Yeah, that's one of my old students. Okay, I didn't get that from what you wrote before. Please do link me a video. Yukinori. You wrote Yukinoris before, my friend. Yukinori. All right. You misspelled his name originally. Yukino Akazawa. Akazawa. Well, I'm not seeing him on YouTube, so it's not a YouTube video. Abusing steroids is now out of hand. That's from Everyone is On. That's from Coach Colton. No, but it's not the video I'm looking for. Why don't you just put it in your reply? Reply to your super chat so you don't have to use another super chat. Would you collab with Mitch Hooper, WSM? Mitch Hooper. Let me see if I would collab with Mitch Hooper. Forgive me, I'm not sure who Mitch Hooper is. Who is Mitch Hooper? Critiquing Will Harlow's advice. Mitch Hooper. Is he like a strong man? Strongest man on earth. Mitch Hooper. Controversy. Mitch Hooper. Let me see how many followers Mitch Hooper has. 310,000 subscribers. Damn. Okay, I'm going to subscribe to his channel. I think he's a strong man of sorts. Yeah, I would do a collab with him. That would be fun. Talk about lifting weights, putting them down, picking them back up. Sounds interesting. Yeah, I would do it. I just subscribe to his channel so he can contact me. Historian made a vid on Karbala. It's mind-blowing. He explains events from all angles and gives objective analysis. He exposes the biases on this. That's from Hassan. Hassan, I will check that out. Historian on Karbala. I'm very familiar with Karbala. But I would love to hear his take on it. Sure. Please do Christopher Langan interview. That's from Port Film. Guys, I would love to. I'm sure I can get in touch with him. However, gentlemen, you have to put it in the comments. You want to see it. Also, I'm due for reaction video. So you put the videos you want me to react to. I said I would do one after we got 5,000 likes. We got to it. So I said yes. I did Harris versus Jordan Peterson. Now I'm ready to do to another one. I'm going to keep my word. I said I would do it. I'm going to do it. You guys just got to give me something you want to hear me react to. To continue my super chat, her and I are Muslim. She says her BFF has a girlfriend and that they are serious. I'm still not comfortable with that. That's from Mediocre King. Mediocre King. Give her one warning, then cut her loose. Tell her Coach Zahabi said, Mamnua. You're going to walk up to her. You're like, hey, woman, sit down here. Your relationship is mamnua. Forbidden. No good. Out. Cut the ties. And that's it. If she says no, if she struggles, if she gives you this, cut it. That's my advice to you. Coach, UFC released a clip of Khabib's disappointed reaction when Peter Yan lost by split decision against Sugar. I agree with the GOAT of MMA. Peter won. Peter been unlucky ever since he used a legal knee. That's from Shiz. Shiz, you're very right, man. Now, look, I'll tell you something. Peter Yan is one of the most successful bantamweights ever. He's a phenomenal fighter, but he's had a hard time dominating the division. He had a hard fight with Jose Aldo as well. With the Merab fight was just crazy. How Merab just I thought he was going to beat Merab, to be honest with you, but Merab he's gone up a level. He's just relentless, never ending, take down pressure. And what he did with Henry Cejudo is unreal, unbelievable. He was not only taking down Henry Cejudo, one of the best wrestlers ever in MMA. He was doing it easily. He had the time to kind of talk in the crowd. He was picking up Henry, dumping him, catching him in front headlock, talking to people in the crowd, just playing around. That's insane. That's insane. You're talking about one of the great wrestlers of our generation. Just insanity. Hello, any advice for a 26-year-old wanting to fare as he can in MMA? Want to go as far as he can in MMA is what I think we're trying to say. I want to be the best martial artist I can be, even though starting late. That's from Guts. Guts, if you're very serious about that, you got to be training twice a day. If you're not training twice a day, quit. Okay? Don't try to be the best ever. Just to be the best you can be. But if you're training twice a day, every day, yes, then it's possible. But you really got to kick it, man. You really got to get serious. You got to go to the best gyms. You got to do the best workouts. You got to really, can't waste any time. If you're not training twice a day, don't even think about it. Coach, I have a job, but very unfulfilling. Thoughts on doing a master's in cognitive psych or evolution psych as topics following my heart/interest. That's from BVB09. Well, look, here's the thing. If you get a degree in those things, are you going to be able to live off it? I'm not sure. I don't know how much money you're going to make. So I think, look, you can study those things out of interest. There's plenty of information out there in the world. And continue to put food on the table. But if you go into those endeavors and you spend years and then you accrue a debt because of your education, and then you're looking for a job and you're desperate to pay your debt and you're desperate to find a job, it's not necessarily the best situation. So, cognitive psych, psychologists don't make, depends. A small amount of them make tons of money. And there's a lot of them that don't. Okay, the vast majority of them never make it. So, if you're going to develop a practice after that, okay, maybe yes, it makes sense. But I'd have to do more research on your area, the market. Is there a demand for cognitive psych? There is definitely, but you have to be somebody of. Look, I know a lot of people who went into psych and didn't make any money, and there's a few people who they're rich, obviously, because everybody wants to. Have their advice in time. It's how good are you at it? I'm posting link in the chat. That's from Bobby. All right, Bobby, lay it on me, man. Where's the link? I'm waiting for Bobby's link. Guys, retweet his link for me. Repost it. Okay, here it is. Search full fight Manco Antonio boxer. Is this the same time? You're so smart, man. You named it AMA 171. Manco Antonio boxer AMA. Manco Antonio. We did this. Antonio. All right, I found you, man. Didn't we do this one already? Is this another fight? You fought again? Okay, this is another fight. Okay, quickly, tell me which one you are. You red or are you blue? Guys, I'm going to put this, hold on a second. I'm going to put this for all of us to watch. Hold on, I'm not going to watch alone. Coach is not going to watch alone. All right, let me know in the chat which one of these guys you are. Just give me a second here. I'm going to do some button pushing, and voila, my friends. Look at that. The coach and his purple belt, if I do say so myself, button pushing skills. Which one are you, the blue or the red? Red corner. Okay, guys, let's watch this man here. Let's watch Mr. Antonio. He's in the red. All right, it's lagging. The folks at YouTube are lagging on us. Oh, come on, man. Manco is in the red, gentlemen. Get ready for violence. Manco is our boy in the red. First round. Primer round. All right, Manco, you better not disappoint. This better be a barn burner. This better be like Holloway versus Gaethje. Oh, right hand from the beginning. Oh, another right hand. Goodness gracious. He's fighting a much taller man here. Good counters. I love the Spanish crowd. Oh, he's getting... You're catching him with lots of hard rights. Nice head movement. Good job on the counters. Good combinations. I could see your opponent's a little bit already. He's slowing down a little bit already. So you got better conditioning. You know, your legs are much more explosive than his. Good job with the jab to the body. Very good. I mean, I'm talking about for the level of you guys are at now, okay? Now, everybody starts at this level. I mean, you know, a lot of people are going to complain, oh, it's not professional. Yeah, they're not professional. They have to get to professional. They're not going to start. You don't start at professional, okay? So for the level you guys are fighting at, you're doing a very, very good job. Okay, now this fight is quite long. Okay, so I'm gonna skip through the end. I want to see what it looks like. Okay, I just skipped a few minutes here. Let's see what it's looking like. We're deep in the fight here. You're still the pursuer. You're killing. This guy's looking like he's cooked. Oh, another right hand. Goodness gracious. How many right hands is this guy gonna take? Good body shots. Oh, that's it. Are they stopping it? No, 8 count? 8 count. Manco gives his opponent an 8 count. It's over, Manco. The hands of stone, Manco. He's like, no mas, no mas. All right, Manco, I got to say, congratulations, man. That was a really good fight. Now, I'll give you my commentary, okay? And I'm going to try to be nice. I'm not going to be brutal. Like, I'm sure a lot of guys in the chat room are like, oh, they're not professional. Yeah, I know you guys are used to watching the top guys in the world fight. But you have to work your way to that level, guys. Everybody starts at that level, and you got to build and build. Okay, that's not the lowest level. I'm not saying that, but it's also not the highest level. Okay, you're not ready for pro per se. I want to talk to you about one thing and one thing only. Okay, I know you're gonna ask me about height and all that. Look, when you fight a taller guy, you don't want to look at your target. When you look, let's say I'm fighting a guy. Okay, he's right in front of me. When he's tall, he's a little bit higher up, so I gotta look at his chin because I want to hit his chin. Right, my eyes are up. Well, guess what? If your eyes are up, like they were in the fight, Manco, your chin is also up, okay? You got to learn that when you're fighting, you don't want to expose your chin. Now, if I lift my head up, my chin is up. That means I'm exposed, okay? I want to have my shoulders hiding my chin, okay? Now, I want to look up, but with my chin down. So my nose is kind of pointing down towards the floor in a diagonal, and my eyes are up. I don't want to lift my nose up to look at the target. Because if I lift my nose up, my chin goes up, and that's exposure. Okay? That's what we call exposure. You're exposing your chin. In this fight, you expose your chin. Now, lucky for you, the guy you're fighting is not a hard hitter. Okay? He wasn't very precise. He wasn't a hard hitter. He wasn't as experienced. A guy with good experience and power could really hurt you. So I would tell you, the number one thing I would tell you is you're lifting your chin. Now, because you're lifting your chin, you can't sit on your punches because you want to jump and reach. The reason why you want to jump and reach is because you're not getting close enough to your partner, your opponent, before you throw a punch. Okay, so you want to block, shield, slip, close the distance, and then punch. You're trying to punch your way in. If you punch your way in, you can get knocked out. Okay, so you got to close the distance first using your defense. Now, you did a lot of good counter punching. He would throw a jab, you would slip and rip. That's also a great strategy. So I'm walking up, I see the guy's jab, I slip, I step, I close the distance, and then I touch him. He throws a hook, I go underneath it in boxing, I step forward, I get close to him, I hit him to the body, hit him to the head. I got to bob and weave under his shots sometimes. I got to slip around his punches. I got to corner him towards the fence. I want to close the distance, and I want to punch from arm's reach. I don't want to have to take a big step. Now, there are times in a fight where we step into a punch. Okay, we do. But that's a little bit complicated and too difficult for me to explain like this. I have to give you a visual. But there are times where you step and punch. You take the risk, okay? But it is a risk. And especially in MMA, because MMA, the distance a little bit further because of kicks. So, but in boxing, I like you guys the boxers to get really close before they start punching. You don't want to run in. There's no need to, because you don't have to cross the kicking distance. Okay, so that's why boxing is a little bit different than the traditional martial arts. So if you look at karate, they do what we call blitzing. They run in and they punch, you know. And taekwondo, they jump across with a kick or a punch. In boxing, you don't do that. You don't see like a running. You don't see like a blitz, what we call a blitz. They don't have that in boxing. Why? Because it's not necessary. You don't have to traverse the kicking distance. Okay, gentlemen, what else do we have here? Coach, you are the GOAT in my book. Manco, thank you, man. Congratulations on your win. It was a great win. Good job. Any parenting / tips you recommend for when a child is just past 2 years old of age? Thanks. That's from Brandon. Brandon, last episode I talked about that. You know, like I was like, my kids were growing up, I wouldn't discipline them till they were 2. And at 2 years old, I did start to discipline. And I talked about how I was watching this dog trainer and he wouldn't discipline the dog for 2 years. And I know human beings are not dogs, but Lehrberg is he's like a genius trainer, and he doesn't discipline his dogs. Why? Because he wants his dogs to feel like they're the head of the pack. And if they taste what it's like to be head of the pack, to be number one, they're always going to look for that. It becomes like their North Star. He's talking about building their psychology. So the first 2 years of their life, he lets them do whatever they want. He's the top dog. Then he takes it away from him slowly. And the dog, he wants to be top dog again, so he works harder. That's in a nutshell what I gave the answer last time. And I'll tell you something. I did that, and one of my sons was particularly naughty. So the whole family was like, man, we can't wait till he starts disciplining him, because this kid, and he was maybe like a year and a half, he was super naughty. My son was crazy naughty. You have to remember, my son had no rules. There were no rules. He could do what he wants, man. He would like throw a cup on the floor. I'd just pick it up and mop it. I was his butler boy. He would like slap me or scratch me. I wouldn't say anything to him. He would like break things. I'll tell my wife, what can I do? What can I do? He's the man, you know. He would do anything he wants, you understand? Now, on his birthday, he was turning 2. So I was like, okay, tomorrow it starts. Tomorrow I put him in a timeout. Tomorrow, if he throws things off the kitchen table, well, you know what? There's going to be a consequence. At his birthday party, he was being very, very naughty. He got a lightsaber. And he started hitting our guests with it. Now, typically, I don't do anything. I just kind of like take it from him, and like I kind of wrestle it out of his hand a little bit. I kind of let him beat me up a bit. Like I'm his butler boy, but I can't let him hit the guests, right? But he was really pushing it. It's like he knew that today's the last day. He was like he's just being such a bad little boy. So on his birthday, I warned him. I'm like, hey, man, listen, you're 2 years old now. You know, like, don't make me put you in a timeout. He's like, timeout? What's this guy talking about? Timeout? Now, on his birthday, I wasn't planning to. I wasn't going to give him a timeout on his birthday. What kind of parent gives his child a timeout on his birthday? That's insane. But he was being such a naughty little boy that I gave him a timeout on his birthday. So I'm like, you know what? That's enough. Sit here in the corner. You're a timeout. Now, the whole family started clapping. Imagine, he's a 2-year-old kid. He's having his first timeout on his birthday. And the whole family's rejoicing. Why? They're like, thank God. Because he's such a menace. Now, he was 2 years old. It was cute. His menace, Dennis the Menace face was cute and funny to us. But still, he really deserved to be punished. Now, I'll never forget that day because I had to punish him on his birthday. Like, literally, I couldn't take another second. I was like counting the days till he turns 2. So I would tell you, at 2 years old, though, his timeout should be 2 minutes. That's what they say, okay? I read quite a lot of books on psychology for children and all that. If he's 3 years old, most experts will say his timeout should be 3 minutes. If he's 4 years old, 4 minutes. Some experts say it's times 1.5. Some say, no, it's just times 1. So if he's 10 years old, it's at 10 years old, you're not really giving timeouts if you do everything well, but it should be a 10-minute timeout. Now, if he repeats the offense, okay, you add more time, okay, incrementally. But I would recommend you never strike your child, okay? If you can avoid striking your child, absolutely avoid it. Studies show it lowers IQ points, okay? So it's a really, really bad thing. You don't want to discipline your child physically. Give them timeouts. Take away their luxuries, take away their Wi-Fi. Take away whatever. But try not to use physical discipline. Now, if you do use physical discipline, I'll make them do burpees. I'll make them do long runs. I would make them do calisthenics. If they really upset me, I'll make them do like hard labor. I'll make them do stuff that they don't want to do. Like I pick up all the leaves in the backyard or whatever. Like not just the regular chores, but I'd pile it on them, because they're not following the rules. There will be consequences. My sister's high school took out religious education for philosophy. What do you think? That's from Bellicose. Well, I think that both are very important, religion and philosophy. They both serve different purposes. Hey, Coach, what are your thoughts on Sanda for MMA or self-defense? That's from Alan. I think it's fantastic. Sanda is like kickboxing with wrestling, man. It's fantastic. I love Sanda. Sanda's really cool. Coach, I have a 3-year-old son. Would like your advice on how to properly introduce him to self-defense / martial arts. That's from Michael. Michael, I would recommend put him in gymnastics. Put him in gymnastics till he's like 9 years old. Then put him in martial arts. And you're going to see his jumping ability, his movement, his coordination is going to be so well developed that he's going to really excel in martial arts. I wouldn't put him in martial arts right away at 3. I would highly recommend gymnastics first. Because at 3 years old, you can't teach him armbar, double leg snap. It's not worth it. Teach him how to jump, how to roll, how to climb, how to stretch, how to, keep his body fit, and he'll have that lesson for life. And when he goes to compete with the other kids at 9 years old or 10 years old, he'll be much stronger. He'll be far fitter. I don't like expensive brands, but I spend stupid amounts of money to buy designer stuff for my girlfriend because her smile is worth more than anything. Do you believe in the same exception to your wife? ? That's from MSES. Yes, I'm very similar with that. Okay, so I don't like to exaggerate how much she spends, but I definitely don't like to wear name brands. If you see me wear clothes, like I always try to avoid name brands. Like the shirt I'm wearing is generic. Like I buy generic stuff. My car, I don't buy expensive cars because I'm the type of guy, I treat my car like a locker room. If I scratch my car, I don't care about it. Like a few months ago, some guy hit me on the highway. I was just in my lane. The guy came and crashed he scratched my car. I didn't even call the insurance. I didn't care. I hit another car. I got into 2 accidents quite close to one another. I mangled my Mini Cooper, and I love my Mini Cooper. I love my car. But it's not a super brand new. I never buy brand new cars. At least I haven't. I was thinking about it because I'm so sick of pumping gas. I want to buy an electric car. I'm so sick of going to the gas station. The gas station takes so long to pump gas. It's so full. There's so many people. The new gas pumps, they take so long to give out gas. It's so annoying. Sometimes you get there and it's like, see the person inside. It's like, dude, they can't even take my credit card at the pump now. I got to go inside, pay with the credit card, come out. It's so annoying. I'm so sick of pumping gas. So I was thinking about buying an electric car, but I'm double thinking about it now. I got to do more research on it. But I agree with you. I'm the same way. I don't buy too much expensive stuff for me. I kind of like keep my life really basic. But for my wife, I like to spoil her for sure. Is it okay to do BJJ once and MMA once each every day, or do I need to do MMA twice a day if I want to go far? What do you pay attention to watching MMA? That's from Guts. Listen, if you want to develop a career, you got to find a good gym who has a good program. There's some days you're going to do jiu-jitsu, some days you're going to do striking, some days you're going to do wrestling, some days you're going to do conditioning. It's not just like, oh, do I do jiu-jitsu 3 times a week, boxing twice a week? There's no perfect formula. You got to find what's best for you, what you need more. After you spar, you got to stop and assess. So you should be sparring once a week after a certain amount of training. Once you're ready to spar, after every sparring, you got to assess. Do I need to wrestle more? Do I need to box more? You know, are my strength levels too low? I highly recommend you find a very good MMA gym. Okay, so it's really too complicated to just organize it like so. But basically, I like to see what's happening in sparring, and then after I see what's happening in sparring, I decide where the athlete's going to dedicate more time. If he's going to dedicate more time to wrestling, jiu-jitsu, kickboxing, or conditioning. Namaste, coach, and everybody from India. Will you someday open your gym branch in India? Because here we don't even have one legit MMA gym. That's from Miku. Miku, namaste to you as well. Look, Miku, you could be the first guy to travel to Canada, train with me for 10 years, get your black belt, and then go and pioneer an MMA gym in India. That's the way it's got to be done, guys. Don't wait for the foreigners to come down. You go abroad and you train and you become the first. Somebody in India is going to do it sooner or later. And India is a massive place with a lot of potential, of course. They have a good wrestling culture in India. So you guys have that there. I don't know how about the striking culture in India, but I definitely know there are a lot of great wrestlers that come out of India. Name a pop song you're ashamed that you loved. That's from Vicky. What's that crazy song that was like took over the world? Oh, goodness gracious. I didn't like that song, but I was going to say My Humps as a joke, but that song was oh my God, I'm so happy that song passed. It was such a ridiculously cringe song. I don't know what pop song. Honestly, I can't think of one. What was a catchy pop song that I liked? Somebody make suggestions. I can't even remember. I don't know. I honestly can't even think of one. Coach, I have skinny legs. I want big legs for the girls, but have to keep weight down for fights. Man, you guys got real problems out there. He's got to have big legs for the girls, but he's got to keep them small because he's fighting. Advice: should I bulk the legs and then cut and fight later? Is having big legs important for MMA? I'm 23. That's from Sam Satoski. Sam, I'm going to save you here. You're going to hit 2 birds with 1 stone. You're going to hit 2 birds with 1 stone. Don't you happy you tuned into this channel today? Okay, I'll tell you something. You don't have to have huge legs, but thick, muscular calves is going to do the trick. Girls are going to see your calves and I'm like, oh, this guy's an athlete. It's very easy to get muscular calves. I cover it in Strong and Stable Running, but I'm going to give it to you for free. To build your legs, to have legs like a horse, you got to do sprinting. Okay, now I highly recommend the pose running method, but since you're 23, I really don't recommend you run on your heels, but in the future, you should get the pose running method and you should do the workouts like I entail them. But like, let's say you're doing 400 meters on a regular basis. Okay, 400 meter sprints, 1 minute break. You do that 3-4 times. You got to do a good warm up. And when you run, if you run on your toes, You're going to get huge calves. Guys, forget the calf machine. Forget the calf machine. Calf machine's a waste of time. Sprint. When you sprint, you're going to put so much weight on your legs because you're digging into the ground at top speeds. You're going to develop thick muscular legs. You're going to keep your weight down. Your calves are going to become shredded if you run on your toes. Now, I recommend in the video, I say, don't run more than 20% of your run on your toes. So let's say I'm going to do 400 meters. Okay. I'm not going to run the first 400 meters on my toes. No, because I'm still warming up my calves. Guys, if you run on your toes too much, you're going to have sore calves. Like, you're going to be like, my calves are screaming. You're going to be in pain for 5-6 days. You're going to be like, oh, Coach Zahabi gave me the worst advice. Pay attention here, because you could really injure yourself. You don't want to have an Achilles pop on you. Okay. If you have an Achilles injury, Achilles cord injury, it's horrendous pain and it's a very long recovery. Okay. We're going to avoid that at all costs. That's why I really recommend you do the whole program. I teach you how to warm up. I teach you how to do your run. I teach you how to cool down and avoid these kind of injuries. Okay. And how to run properly without striking your heel on the ground, how to keep your feet underneath you. I explained it all in Strong and Stable Running. It's a super important video. But basically, look, let's say you're going to do 400 meters and you already know how to run properly. The first 400 meters, you run pose. The second 100 meters, you run pose. The third 100 meters, you run pose. The last one, you're going to run the last, let's say 150 meters on your toes. You're not going to run pose. You're going to run it on your toes. Now, the next day, if your calves are not screaming, the next time we could do the whole 400 meters on our toes. We incrementally increase how much we run on our toes. As we do that, your calves are going to balloon. Guys, take a look at my calves next time you see me. Take a look at my calves. I have very, very thick calves. Like I have a calves like a Thai fighter. Okay. Sprinting, running on your toes will balloon your calves. You'll never touch a weight. You have the huge, huge muscular calves. Strong, strong legs can be built with airdyne and interval running. Okay, sprinting, interval on the airdyne, interval running. You don't need heavy weights, and that way a fighter can keep his weight down. Doing a whole bunch of heavy weights is not necessarily good if you're trying to keep your weight down. Okay, so by doing sprints, you'll be very shredded. Go look at 400-meter runners. Look at their legs. You tell me those are not like incredible legs? They're incredibly athletic, shredded, horse-type legs. It's incredible. You want to develop that on the track, and you keep your weight down. Salam, coach. How do you advise on how do you build discipline routine? I find myself falling off track whenever it's with Dean or Jim. That's from Waji Sheikh. Look, whenever you're trying to build a routine, don't try to do too much, okay? Always take it in little increments. As you get into your routine, you make it more and more, you dedicate more and more, okay? So you do more time in the gym, you do more rounds. You slowly build, guys. It's all about making small little habit change. Don't go from, eating a bunch of junk every day to eating just carrots. No, don't do that. Just make small changes every day. It's got to be challenging, but not heartbreaking. Okay, you don't want your diet to be heartbreaking. You don't want your routine to be so painful you can't even get out of bed. No. It's got to be challenging, but manageable. That's the real secret, guys. It's got to be challenging, but manageable. If it's too hard and I can't manage it, I got to dim down the difficulty. Or else you're going to quit, guys. You're going to quit. Don't quit. Just dim down the difficulty and then keep trying to improve slowly. Your body will adapt, and then making improvements will be less painful. Been doing BJJ and starting MMA soon. Should I train MMA twice a day? Or I know I did this one already. Okay, guys, no more super chats. I'm going to end this very shortly. We've been going an hour, 45 minutes. Let's cool it on the super chat. I'm just going to do a few more fun ones, and then we're going to wrap it up shortly. Slam Coach, I got 2 questions. First, does training MMA help you in overcoming the nerves of confrontational situations? And how do you train to have complete skills like John and Islam? Ayub, for sure, if you train MMA, it's going to help you in confrontational situations. Absolutely. Oh my God. Sometimes I do thought experiments and I ask myself, imagine I walked into this situation and I had no MMA training at all. Imagine I was like a white belt. I'm like, oh my God, I get why people are so nervous. I get why people are always asking about confidence. I get why people are always saying, look, I don't have confidence. I need more confidence. I need more confidence. I understand why people say that. Now, I'll tell you, when you're a black belt, like, look, sometimes I roll with somebody, you know, like I train with somebody. And, you know, they're like maybe blue belt. And a black belt to a blue belt is like, it's like eating a bag of candy, okay? Now, I used to be a blue belt. I used to roll with black belts. And I was like, to them, I was like eating a bag of candy. It was easy. They would kick my ass all the time. Like, I'm not trying to say that it's nothing to do with me. It's just the years of experience. The years of training really could take you to higher and higher levels. Okay, guys, is my sound on good? Okay, so like I was saying, if you have trouble with confidence in confrontational situations, for sure, there's no doubt. The question is like glaringly obvious. Okay, if you know how to defend yourself, you've trained for hours, you've wrestled, you know what it's like to wrestle with somebody bigger, stronger, experienced guys. You've been in the practice room so many times. You've had people punch you. You've developed your boxing. For sure, you walk into a regular place and you're like, oh, I could tell this guy doesn't train. Like, he doesn't intimidate me at all. And even if you were to be in a situation where other people train, they can't just beat you like that. It's going to be a hard, long, tall order to put you away. So most people are going to divert. They're not going to go through that risk. Okay, so if people look at you, they see your ears, they see your build, they're like, hey, that guy's too much trouble. Don't even mess with him. You know, don't even start with him. You know, that's a good thing, because now you have confidence. You can enjoy your time. You don't feel all these negative feelings, etc. So absolutely, it's a glaring yes, guys. Martial arts is one of the most important things. That's why I made the video, A Man's Guide to Throwing a Punch. Every man should be able to throw a punch. Every man should develop a boxing routine. Absolutely. One, it keeps you in fit shape. It makes you lean, muscular, strong. And if you're ever in a situation you need to throw a punch, goodness gracious, every man should know how to throw a punch. Plus, the bag is the greatest cardio machine ever invented. It's better than the bike. It's better than running. If I had one cardio exercise I can do, it would be hitting the bag, because it develops a skill, whereas running doesn't develop a skill that you can use in life, unless you plan to run away when trouble comes. Your second question was, how do you train to have complete skill like John and Islam Makhachev? That's guys. Those are guys who've been training their entire life twice a day. So it would take a crazy amount of man hours. It's a life journey. Okay, so you're doing martial arts for life. If you dedicated your life to martial arts, yes, you can reach that level. But to do it as a layman, it doesn't make any sense. You can't make that jump. Okay, no trainer knows how to do that. Believe me, they don't exist. Maybe one day we're gonna find a secret recipe, but as of now, there's no way to go from regular Joe to John Jones in a flash. Okay, it's a lifetime of training. So we're talking about the two best pound for pound, among the two best pound for pound fighters in the world. For us, would you be able to do an interview with John Danaher? I'd love to hear you guys talking about MMA and grappling, and also some thoughts on philosophy. That's from Alex. Alex, I did do a interview with him, I think for the 102 episode. Make sure to check it out. It was real fun. Me and him talked about so many crazy topics. Try to check it out. It's on this channel. It's about episode 100 or so. Okay, guys, I'm going to be signing off. Please, no more super chats. Hey, coach, any tips on plantar fasciitis? That's from Damien. Yes. Do the Strong and Stable Knees program, standing on the ball. I have a progression. That's how I cured my plantar fasciitis. Nobody could cure me. I cured my own plantar fasciitis. I just did my ball routine and the whole thing went away. I had it for about a year. They couldn't figure it out. It was incredibly painful. Make sure to get Strong and Stable Knees, guys. It's the best program out there. Put in the promo code level up 50 off. Get 50% off anything at jujiclub.com. It's in the description. It's on your screen, at the bottom of your screen. Make sure to pick up Strong and Stable Knees. It's a life-changing video. I keep liking the Royd video. Please watch. I keep linking the Royd video. Where is the Royd video? Where did you link it, sir? Listen, he's an old student of mine. He did a few professional fights, but he was definitely on steroids. But we don't have a steroid culture at TriStar Gym, so I have no idea why he would mentioned the name TriStar. It was definitely not us that put him on steroids. So I don't really know what he's talking about. I'd love to hear the interview. But right now, I don't see your link. You should have... man. Coach, are we allowed to talk to you in your gym? That's from Ricardo Z. Milos. Of course you are. Anybody can talk to me, okay? But maybe sometimes I'm working with the pros. People walk up to me and I'll be like, sorry, I got to focus with this gentleman here. I'm working with this professional fighter or this... So there are times, but when I'm doing my night classes, I'm training everybody, and there are pros there, but we're training a general class. Anybody can come up, talk to me, and we could chat. It happens quite a bit, and I usually hang out after practice and chill and hang out and talk to the students. So I'm very accessible as well. But sometimes during practices, you'll know, like you'll see me in a session, you'll be like, oh, coach is busy with those guys. You know, you can tell. So in the gym, we have a very fun and relaxed atmosphere, but it's also an atmosphere of hard work. So you could see when those guys are in an intense session, don't bother them. You'll get that vibe. Okay, guys, I want to thank you all for tuning in. I had a blast as usual. Please make sure to like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one. Thank you.